Hello, I'm Tania Burchardt, Deputy Director of CASE, the Centre for Analysis of Social Exclusion, and I'm going to be talking this morning to John Hills, Director of CASE, about some of the work that we do. Good morning, John.
Morning.
Would you like to tell us something about some of the recent highlights of CASE's research?
Our biggest current programme is what we call Social Policy in a Cold Climate. That's work where we're looking across the whole range of social policies, from health, education, pensions, and looking at how they affect people's lives, the kind of effects they have on rich and poor, and distribution more generally. So the first part of that, and a whole series of papers are available on our website, look back at the effects of the last Labour government in the UK, looking at it at a time when we've got the final outcomes. We know really what happened 2 or 3 years after they left office, what had really happened to health inequalities and to incomes and poverty and so on. And that produced a whole series of very interesting and detailed results. But the big picture is quite an interesting one, in that there's a myth, I think, and I think we would say it's a myth, that under the last government a lot was spent by government and very little achieved. Mm-hmm. I think what we show is something slightly different from that. We show that indeed quite a lot was spent in terms of public spending, but also across quite a wide range of policies, quite a lot was achieved too. So we detail that. People can see that on our website in the individual areas. And we're now working on following that up for the coalition government. We'll be publishing in a while another series of papers answering the same questions for what's happened since 2010. Mm-hmm. Alongside that, we're carrying on a detailed examination of how the differences in people's economic lives, looking at their earnings, their incomes, their wealth, and how they differ, not just between rich and poor, but between men and women, between young and old, people of different ethnicities, and so on. And in looking in detail, not just at the differences between those groups, but also at the differences within those groups, between better paid women and worse paid women. And we've published a series of results which people themselves can look up. You can produce your own graphs on the website www.casedata.org.uk. You can build your own graphs, choosing the dates you want to look at, choosing the outcomes you want to look at, the way you want to cut it yourself, and see what happened. And for instance, in the results we've already got up on the website, looking through over the first part of the recession, you see across almost all of those outcomes that it was young people who were worst hit, whether they're actually relatively well paid or better off young people or badly paid young people. So that's one part of a big part of our current work.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you. And does CASE attempt to engage with public debate more generally, or is it a purely academic outfit?
I think we try to do both at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I think a hallmark of our work all the way through since we were established as a centre back in 1997 is to engage with policymakers, with the media, with making our stuff available on the web and therefore to a much wider audience, but also I think to people who are sometimes at the sharp end of the kind of policies we look at. So part of our work, for instance, looks at wealth distribution, and we have launch of a book we published recently. Again, you can see details of that on our website. But we also engage with people from community groups. We have a link with the National Community Resource Centre based at Trafford Hall near Chester. And we, for instance, have recently been holding think tank events, talking to people from different community groups, from social housing providers, about the effects of welfare reform, for instance. Where are some of the cuts, some of the really dramatic cuts that are affecting people's lives, hitting hardest, and what does that mean for how policy could or should be changed?
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. Well, thank you very much.